Greetings YouTube and welcome to the Dragoon's Den. As you can tell here, today I'm going to be talking heroes. I've got for you guys an updated deck profile of my long-running Blue Star Heroes deck. This is something that I've been playing around with on and off for about 2 years now. The last deck profile of this was at the end of March 2012, so this is a bit overdue, and I know you guys like my hero decks. I'll tell you right now though, it's pretty standard. I don't have any really crazy stuff, as it's like maybe a couple cards different from my last profiles. And, well, heroes are starting to see more play now due to the fact that they kind of did really well at YCS Austin, what with the Electrum Cannon OTK and the two Hero Beat decks that made top 32 and top 16 respectively. Looking over both builds, I like what they have. There's some card choices I definitely agree with. And I'll get to the card choices that they ran that I liked that are in here, because I at least have one of them that both decks are running, and I was like, you know what, good point. But as for this deck right now, it's really good. It's always been good, but the fact that it's got good matchups against the top 4 decks of the format, Mermail, Fire Fist, Windups, and Dino Rabbit. Like, heroes have always done really good against Windups and Dino Rabbits, that much we know. Fire Fists is actually pretty close, but it's more into your favor than theirs. And then Mermail Atlanteans, you've got outs to their big plays, like Abyss Giles. You can just Gemini Spark the fucker, or you could just outright Super Poly with it. Absolute Zero in particular is a beast to get around. On his own, he's 2500 with the effect to blow up your opponent's monsters when he gets killed or anything. But the fact that he becomes bigger with more water monsters is just insane. If you can make Ab-Zero and Abyss Dweller, yeesh. So, yeah, the deck right now is definitely something I would consider playing if I were to go any high caliber events like regionals. In fact, I probably should have ran it at my last regionals due to the fact that there were so many water and Mermail decks and Prophecy decks, and heroes are kind of really good against those. Although I am unsure of how heroes are going to be able to cope with Prophecy post-Tachyon Galaxy. But at the very least, though, I'm quite confident that this deck will still be playable after Hidden Arsenal 7 comes out. As while you do lose your fusion monsters to Ophion, you can still find ways to work around it. And you can play the grind game just as well as any other grind deck, if not perhaps a little better. So, let's get on with the monsters. First up, you got your standard hero engine, 3 Alias, 1 Stratos. Still running my 1 Bubble Man. I just have never cared for 2. If I really want to go more Bubble Man, I could go into Bubble Beat, but I've never liked the Bubble Beat / Alive heroes. I just like these. I can just get the 1 Bubble Man when I need it and just pluck it down to do things. Stratos and Alias, yeah, fairly obvious. Then for the non-heroes, 2 Thunder King. I'm not running this in my Thunder deck anymore due to the fact that while it is good, it's just that there are other things I want to run in its place. But in Heroes, though, this deck, this card is still so good. You can protect the hell out of it. Its synergy with Shining is amazing, and it's just really better suited for this than a more aggressive deck like Thunder Spammers. So, yeah, Thunder King is still good in stun decks. 2 copies of Card D. This is something that neither of the top builds ran, although Electrum Cannon did use this. So, yeah, there's that. But I do like Card D for the ability to get the deck going during the early game when you might not have like any major power plays aside from maybe summoning Alias and setting some back row. And you run a lot of protection to ensure that you do not die when you go card. So it can help set up those hands, get you to your Miracle Fusions, your Sparks, your E-Calls, or Stratos. During the mid-game, it can help you like play out of a stalemate where they've got like a Zen mains and you've got an Alias on the board. You can just summon card and like try and draw into your Super Poly. And during the late game, when like your opponent is down on resources, well, this just gets you to your big power plays even better. Plus, it's an Earth to make for Gaia. On the other hand, though, I could see this not being run. It's just, yeah, I wanted to give this a try, play it more like what the Japanese have been doing. They run, I think, 3 Bubble Man, 1 Thrasher, 3 Alias, 1 Stratos, 2 T-Kings, 2 Card, and an Honest and a Gores. I think that's what their Hero Beat lineups have been for the last while. Don't quote me on that, though. Then running out the monsters, 1 copy of Photon Thrasher. I've been liking this card in a lot of things as of late. Just being able to summon a free 2100 beater to get over things is amazing, and I will admit, I also like the fact that I was able to pick up Alti Ryos and Alti Thrashers to make a turbo packed out deck. So I kind of want to run a second Thrasher just because I got this like the second ulti. It's a silly and selfish reason, I know, but god damn it, I've got flashy Thrashers and I want to use them. But anyway, the one Thrasher though is helpful. You can always search out with Rhoda, and you can just plunk it down, go into Stratos, get Bubble Man, special Bubble Man, and go into a Shockmaster, or just summon Stratos, make a Excalibur or other stuff. It just allows you to use some really fast Xyz plays, and he's again a 2100 beater in a light. And then lastly, one copy of Honest, because you've got your Alias, you've got your Thrasher, and you've got your Dynamo and Shining. And yeah, Honest just makes it that much harder for your monsters to get beaten over in battle. Next up, we got the spells, and it's actually not that much different from what I ran last time. Did I even change anything from my last build? No, wait, no. Yeah, I've got something in here that I wasn't running before. But we'll start with the obvious ones: triple Miracle Fusion and triple Gemini Spark, aka the Hero Engine 2.0. I've seen some lists run two miracles due to the fact that it can be like rather dead in the early game, but at the same time though, I'm running 3 so that I can at least see 2 every game. That's what I'm thinking on that, and same for Gemini Spark. There are those times though where it is kind of clunky, dead in the hand, but it's a risk I'm willing to take at this time. They're all very good cards. Like Miracle Fusion summons a 3200 beater or a 2500 attacker that when it gets killed blows up their monsters. Spark is spot removal, and it punishes people for trying to use Bottomless or Torrential on my Alias summons. Then you've got E-Call, obvious. Duality, obvious. 2 MST. This is something that kind of isn't seen playing Heroes in some builds and then is seen playing others. I do feel that now, moving forward, 2 MST should be standard in Hero Beat. The fact is that after YCS Austin, people have been talking about running Royal Decree aggressively in their combo-oriented decks like Kara Curry and Merman Atlanteans, and this deck does not like Decree. And having outs to Decree and more outs to Abysssphere is extremely helpful. Being able to have outs to Tanky and all those other 5/6 cards. MST is definitely not bad in this deck. And it allows you to save your sparks for like monster threats and other things. So I would definitely consider running 2 now. Just at least 2, just to hit those continuous threat cards or those like random things that you don't like. Then for the 1-ofs, you've got your staples, and then the Super Poly. I never really liked 2 in the main. It's a pretty steep cost on the whole discard a monster, get rid of this, and get rid of your monster. Discard a card, your monster, and this just to drop a monster while getting rid of one of theirs. It's good, don't get me wrong. Being able to take an Abyss Giles and drop an absolute 0 is pretty douchey, but at the same time, though, this thing can be rather dead a lot of the time. Kind of have to like set up for it, and I don't know, it's just I've never been a fan of 2 Super Polys. Then of course, like with any good hero deck, we've got trap cards and we've got lots of them. So let's get the 2-0s out of the way. Bottomless, Prison, and Venus. Prison, I'm kind of iffy on. I almost want to not run Prison and go for Mirror Forces instead, but being able to like permanently remove threats such as Bear, or when they try and summon a Linde and crash it into your Thunder King and then summon a lead out of the deck, Prison just says, I don't effing think so. You lose your lead in your battle phase, pretty much, or your normal summon for the turn. And yeah, it protects your guys from certain trap monsters, like that Stardust Dragon that they summoned off a road or whatever. So Prison does do that, and Bottomless is just outright amazing. Venus Chain's also a very good card. It allows you to stop big attackers and negate monster effects. Rather important now that Warning's at 1. Then for the 1-ofs, first, Dark Bribe. I'm not running Starlight Road anymore, as I've just never been able to get that card off. Like, I only ever get it off against really bad people. Good people never really set the card off, whereas Dark Bribe, it not only stops Storm and Darkhold, but it also stops things like Monster Reborn, Forbidden Lance, if I really need my monster to get over, and just things I would use Lance on. Like, Bribe does give your opponent a free draw, but If you're using Bribe to stop a +3 Heavy Storm, then it's not really that bad because they're only getting a +1 as opposed to a +3 and blowing you out, then proceeding to kill you. One Hero Blast, I don't particularly care for more than one of it at the time. You can still pop some monsters with Alias, like a lot of monsters are like 1900 attack, but we're going to be soon moving into a format where 1900 attack monsters aren't staying on the field that long to begin with, and then we're going to be seeing 1950 attackers and whatnot. Mirror Force, it's only at 1 because I couldn't find room for another one. I wanted to keep this deck at 40. You got your 2 Solemns, and then your 1 Torrential Tribute. I want to try one of each of these at the moment, otherwise I could go 2 TT or 2 Force. I'm kind of going back and forth. This is not a finalized hero build. This is just what I have so far and what I've been playing around with. Then we got ourselves the extra deck, which consists of 2 Shining, 1 Ab-Zero. I know I've been saying how this card's great against Myrmidons, but I still really would not have more than 1 in here. You only run the 1 main deck Bubbleman and the 1 Super Poly, so realistically I'm not going to get this off that often, and if it does die I can always just remove it for Shining and then recycle it back when Shining dies and so on, and then Shining's of course just a beast. Otherwise though, it's, yeah, your standard core elemental heroes. Escuriado is kind of iffy at this time because you're more or less just going to be making it off of Super Polying a Grappa or something, but I do like the 1 of in here at time just because, again, I've got Dark Worlds at my locals, and having outs to that annoying as fuck deck is rather important. Same for Inzektors. Inzektors see play here too. Then for the Xyz, 1 Starleash, Paladynamo. The card's amazing. Thunder abuses this so well, but you can do this too with Alias and Thrasher. Just negate a big monster, beat it over, one of the styles you get a draw, and then you can just use it for Miracle Fusion. How about that? Excalibur, Big Beats, Black Triple Corn, Spot Removal, Utopia, Beater. This is probably going to get dropped for a Gem Knight Pearl once Hidden Arsenal 7 comes out, as that 2600 attack will let you get over Ophion, which is, again, important. Maestro is just good. Cowboy ends games. Blade Armor can rack up damage. And Abyss Dweller is kind of really good, especially since Bubbleman will give him his effect. And having outs to Myrmidons and Dark Worlds is A-OK in my book. And there you have it. My updated Elemental Hero deck for this point in the format. Again, changes will probably be made once Hidden Arsenal 7 comes out, as Ophion does give this deck some problems. You can't use your Miracle Fusions. You can still do Xyz plays, and that's probably where the deck is going to start going, is using Xyz to get around monsters. So I might add in more Thrashers and more Bubblemen, but for the time being, this is what I have and what I'm fairly comfortable with. Tell me what you think about Heroes at this point and how you're running the deck, if you are, and what do you think the deck's going to do once later sets come out. I'm really iffy on, again, what's going to happen to this deck once Tacton Galaxy comes out, as the format is just going to speed up by a ton, and I just don't know if Heroes are going to be able to keep up with Elemental Dragons, Prophecy 2.0, and etc., etc., etc. That all being said, thank you guys for watching. Until next time, stay frosty.